Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the Trainer Talk. Before we get this episode started, make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. That way you can see all of our future videos and our past videos if you haven't seen them. Today we're going to be talking about pros and cons of being unfit and being fit, and then being very fit and extremely fit. So there's obviously pros and cons to all of them. We want to kind of go over those to help you guys just kind of see how the differences are between people living in an unhealthy lifestyle compared to a healthy lifestyle. People that are really fit, you might not think that they have any obstacles or any kind of hard things in life, but we do. We have some very hard things or some cons to being very fit, but obviously there's a lot of pros as well. So we'll start out with the very unfit category. Bethany, if you want to lead us off, go ahead.
Yeah, so I kind of like to think of it of a spectrum of where you land versus, very unfit versus extremely fit. And then there's obviously costs and benefits to either one of them. Now, when you think of like health and fitness, the extreme end isn't always the healthiest. Like you look on a cover of a magazine and there's just ripped to shreds and abs for days, and like that's just for that photo shoot. And plus it's, Photoshop, so that's not the epitome of health. People might think that, but that's not what health really looks like. So getting to that level isn't always healthier. But then on the other spectrum of being very unfit, you pretty much have no restriction. There's less aesthetics to your body, so like less aesthetically pleasing of that, really fit look. And your health is also worse, higher body fat percentage, and leading to obesity, more causes of different chronic diseases, and ultimately a shorter life due to that. We kind of touched on that in previous episodes of like the costs of being overweight and being unhealthy. And you're basically just going to do more of like the average social behaviors of more drinking, more going out on weekends and eating whatever kind of food you want, sitting all day, having lots of fast food, and not really caring about anything health and fitness related. Probably don't even know what macros or protein and calories are. Very, very minimal knowledge, and when it comes to health and fitness, and it kind of, your health and your body reflects that.
Yeah, and I think it's you can look at people who are our age in their 20s and who are living a very unfit lifestyle of drinking and partying, and maybe they're not quite reaping the looks and I don't know the word for it, but maybe they look still like they're healthy and fit because they're still skinny or whatever the case is. But what they don't realize is by living that way now, they're setting themselves up for failure in the future. They're going to increase their risk of living a lower quality of life as they age. They're going to miss out on being able to play with grandkids as they age. And those are things you don't really think about when you're in your 20s and 30s and 40s being unfit, but those are the things that you have to think about, because how do you want to live when you're older? How do you want to live when you finally get to retirement? Do you want to enjoy retirement, or do you want to be sick and still having to pay for medical bills or hospitalization and not being able to go travel and see the world like you're supposed to do when you get to that point? When you're unfit, you have lower energy. Your happiness is probably lower, even though you may not put that out there for the world to see. You'll have increased risk of anxiety and depression when you're unfit, and just a decreased overall lifespan in general.
Yeah, just to kind of recap, like we found this cool kind of study, and it's got different pros and cons for each of the different fitness levels. So they already said all this, but just to kind of go back over it, like the pro, I guess, of being unfit is it requires zero effort. So you don't have to do any kind of work. It also, you have time for other interests. For example, a lot of people might just watch movies, binge watch TV shows or movies, going out to eat a lot and just getting whatever they want off the menu, maybe play video games, whatever it could be. The cons to that, like Caitlin just said, decrease physical health, decrease of energy, decrease strength, increase your risk of depression, and decreasing your lifespan. So all those are going to be the cons. Basically, if you want to be unfit, nobody wants to be unfit, but do the things such as eating, whatever you want. Like I said, if you're going out all the time and eating whatever, that could be a pro. You can enjoy that food, but it's going to have costs to it. It's going to lead to unhealthiness and overweight. Eating excessively, eating fast, sitting all day. Maybe you have a sedentary job where you don't work out at all, and you're not eating whole foods. You're not sleeping, making time for sleep. And you're not exercising. So that's kind of a category of being unfit. So now we'll move on to moderately fit. So what does the life look like of a moderately fit person? I would say this is where we want 5% of our clients to get to. We want them to just be moderately fit. We don't care if you're extremely fit, six-pack abs on the cover of a magazine. We just want you to feel really good and be kind of in that moderate range, still be able to enjoy life, but just having a little bit more restrictions than the unfit person.
Yeah, I feel like the moderately fit people are going to have a decent amount of balance. So they're going to have to make a few sacrifices and prep during the week, eat healthy throughout the week, and then maybe on the weekends that's when they kind of they'll have the occasional drink and they'll go out to eat and maybe they'll stay up too late. They'll kind of indulge more on the weekends. But then during the week, they're very regimented. They'll come in and work out 2-3 days a week. And then that would be kind of the moderately fit range, I would say, as far as habits and the strictness. And then, they'd probably have pretty decent aesthetics. They'd be, strong. They'd have a little bit better endurance than the average person, I would say. I'd say the average person probably falls into the unfit category.
Yes.
And, obviously you're going to have to make some social sacrifices, but probably not a ton. As long as most of the time they're on track, they're doing really well. And then their health is obviously going to improve from that. Most people can probably get off most of their medications if they have high blood pressure medication or cholesterol or anything like that. If they are working out and then putting the right things in their body, recovering the right amount, for most part, I'd say maybe they have to be 70% consistent, would be in that moderately fit category. So, they're able to avoid those long-term chronic diseases when they're able to do all those things.
Yeah, I think with moderately fit, you're only going to really get to a certain look or aesthetic before you kind of start to plateau if you don't continue to make better changes, which isn't a bad thing if you're okay with not looking a certain way but just being healthy in general, then moderately fit is good for you. But I think what happens a lot is people, they work out 3, 4, maybe 5 times a week, but again, they're still going out on the weekends and kind of eating however they want and can get frustrated when they do hit that plateau of well, I'm working out 4 times a week, why am I not losing any more weight, or why am I still looking, holding a certain percentage of body fat? And it's because you're choosing to live that lifestyle of still eating how you choose on the weekends, drinking every weekend. So you kind of have to give and take. If you really want to see the most results, you might have to cut back a little bit more, but if you're okay with just being healthy in general, then you can kind of just still eat how you want, but work out as well.
Yeah.
So
How you look is kind of a reflection of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
So if you might be putting in some work during the week, but if you really want to look a certain way or like somebody, you need to live as if that just like that person, or putting the same amount of work and effort as that person. So it's all just about how bad you really want it. I always just say, scale from 1 to 10, how bad you actually want to be healthy, and then based off that answer, or how ready that person is, I'll tell them exactly what they need to do to achieve that goal. So you really just got to ask yourself, is it worth going out to eat Friday and Saturday, and maybe getting drinks both nights, staying up really late, and kind of ruining your week? That's totally up to you. So be it if you want to do that. That's great. You can still stay healthy as long as you're normal throughout the week. But what we're saying is you might not continue to always progress or get to that level that you want to be unless you make some changes. So that would kind of be the moderately fit. Just to kind of recap, like, you know, if you're working out and eating a little bit healthier, so you're somewhat, you know, strict on what you're eating, you're going to boost your physical health, you're going to boost your energy, your strength, you're going to decrease your risk of depression, increase your lifespan, and decrease your, or have a better body composition, so decrease body fat, increase muscle. The cons, it requires some planning, so you're going to have to plan out your week a little bit, whether it's meal prepping, working out. It's going to require some consistency. You got to stay consistent with that regimen for a pretty long time. You know, we would like to see people stick to some sort of regimen for like a year at least before they notice a lot of change. You can definitely achieve some results in 6 weeks or 12 weeks, but in order to kind of keep those habits going and keep the result that you want, you have to stick with it for an extended period of time. Most people that are moderately fit, they're going to be eating mindfully, obviously, and focusing on the quality of food. They're going to be consistently getting some protein, working out maybe 4 to 5 times a week, 3 to 5 times a week, something like that. They might do some movement outside of the gym, so going for walks, maybe staying a little bit more active if you're a sedentary job, maybe getting up and walking around on your lunch break, something like that. Just being more active in general, and also kind of focusing more on sleep. We talk about sleep a lot and how important that is. It's right up there, you know, with eating and drinking water. Like, you need to sleep. So, you know, 7+ hours of high quality sleep would be recommended for that. And they're eating less junk and drinking less. Typically, when you're going to be more in that fit category. So now we're going to move from the moderately fit person to the very fit person, which is probably where I would say the category that we might fall into, because we take everything a little bit more seriously than your average person that's just going to the gym a few days a week. So if you want to start us off with the very fit person.
Yeah, so like the very fit person, obviously they're going to have generally better physiques than someone who's just moderately fit. They're going to have better health markers because they are taking their diet more seriously. Like, they may only have a meal that's kind of, you know, off of what they would typically eat during the week. They have less processed foods, they drink less alcohol overall, but they're more focused on like sleep recovery. The workouts in the gym are generally harder, and they're working out much more and more consistently. To be at that level, it's really hard if you're inconsistent. You really can't get to that level without that baseline of being pretty consistent, of that like 80-90% consistency, I would say, for like being on plan, hitting your workouts, and then also just bringing the right mentality to it. I think it's really hard to get to like that very fit place without having the right mindset around training and nutrition, and it's knowing that everything you do outside of the gym is just as important as what you do during. I think it's a little bit of that mindset shift of knowing that you're going to have to sacrifice. If you're going to go out, that you're not going to be able to get whatever you want when you order food, and you're not going to be able to drink, you know, a whole case of beer. You know, you might be able to have a couple, but, you know, making more sacrifices than, you know, someone like maybe you did before, or that other people that you're around are doing. So you might, you know, instead of going out on night, you know that you have to get up early the next day. You know that you have a hard workout, so you're going to go to bed early. Whereas some people, they'll stay up and they'll party on a Wednesday night, and it's like, I can't do that, and then function the next day, because you know that you have to be kind of like primed to be at your best. But like, that's a pretty aspirational thing for people to get to. I mean, I think most people can achieve that level of being very fit, whereas like the next level up would be, you know, obviously it's more extreme, but that fit to moderately fit, and then the very fit range that, you know, we're kind of in is achievable, I think, for quite a few people.
Yeah, like Bethany said, you definitely have to like start making some sacrifices, saying no to going out every single weekend. But on the other hand, we still do enjoy going out every once in a while. It's just not all the time. It's, you know, we have it planned when we're gonna go out and like eat whatever we want, or have some drinks, or whatever it is. It's just not all the time, and it's because we have bigger goals. It's because we see the bigger picture. We see where we want to be, and we know that the only way to get there is by sacrificing. It's by saying no to going out all the time and hanging out with people all the time and just really putting the focus down. And the other thing I was going to touch on, which you kind of already did, was sleep. I think we kind of can get made fun of a lot for how early we go to bed, or for how many hours we sleep, but it is true. Like, if you guys just saw kind of like what we put our bodies through in a workout, plus what we do every single day, being on our feet for multiple hours throughout the day, our bodies need 8 or more hours of sleep a day just to recover, and to help us function. So, it can be hard when you don't want to stay out at a party past 10 o'clock, but, I know that if I don't go home and get my sleep, I'm not going to be where I want to be. I'm not going to reach my goals, and that is just something that, you have to know and you have to want really badly. But again, we still do enjoy life, so there's a very good balance between the two, and it can be hard to kind of figure out, but once you get it, you get it.
I think the biggest kind of difference between like the moderately fit and the very fit is once you become in this category, like the very fit, you identify yourself as a person that works out. Like, you are a fitness junkie, kind of like you love the gym, you love that grind of working out, that mindset, like they said, like you have a mindset shift. The moderately fit person doesn't necessarily obsess over like working out and fitness and stuff like that, but they just know that it's important, so they do it just to kind of stay healthy. Whereas when you transition to that very fit, we're not saying very fit people are always people that are shredded or anything, but like they might just love going to the gym and they love, the grind, and they have that mindset shift, and they do all the things that you're supposed to do, like these guys said. Getting their sleep and meal prepping and all that stuff, staying way more consistent, saying no to other things. So I guess you could consider it a con to have to always be planning and meal prepping and saying no to things, but the trade-off to that person is better than, doing it. So like, we would rather, have a great week of training and recovery and eating than go out, on Friday and Saturday night, for example. So we're trading that off, but because the reward is, we think, is better than doing that. So
you feel better about yourself too.
Yeah.
Like, if you put in you do a hard workout and put in a good week of training and you do all the right things, like you feel much more accomplished and feel better about yourself at the end of the week versus like if you go out on the weekends. Like, you get that short-term pleasure, but it's like, was it really worth it to like come back Monday and feel like garbage in your lifts, and then it's just not worth it sometimes.
yeah, and not even just in your training, just like in your day. How many people wake up on Monday and they just absolutely dread going to work, they're tired, they're dragging their feet, and they just have a terrible Monday. And that's why like so many people, have a super negative mindset going into that first day of the week. It's Monday. And I see it all the time with people, and it's basically because of poor decisions on like Friday and Saturday, that you feel like crap going into Monday.
Yeah.
Whereas me, like, I get excited. I'm just as excited for Monday as I am for a Friday. I love starting a new training week, so I'm always excited to get that training in. My schedule is great, so it's the same no matter what. Now that doesn't mean that I don't like going out. Especially in the summer, I love going out with family and friends and stuff like that. It's just not all the time, like these guys said. Like, we're not, slamming a 15-pack Friday and Saturday night every single weekend for the summer. You're still going out and enjoying yourself, but you're just always conscious of where you're going, basically. And then you're jumping right back on track Monday. That's the most important thing, and that's where I think I see people go wrong is, summer's coming, we're going to be way more busy with camping and, all these things going on. I can't go to the gym at all. It's like, if you do that, you're basically just restarting every single fall, which is just crazy to me to think about doing. So I always talk about like turning back your dial and stuff like that. Like, maybe you can't go every single day, but you're going to go some days, and just do what you can. Having that mindset shift is kind of the identification of a very fit person or a moderately fit person. So just to recap that, 1 second, I lost my post.
Another thing to touch on is like the one thing that people don't realize sometimes is like the energy that we have. I mean, I don't know, probably me more than the other two, but I tend to rely on caffeine a little bit. Some, give you a little bit of boost in the afternoon, especially when you're waking up early and then you're working out, you're training people, and then, knowing that you're gonna be working until 8 or 9 at night. It does take a lot of energy, and you will have slumps in like where you get really tired during the day. So either taking a nap or when you have to, just having caffeine or just powering through it. That's kind of one of the drawbacks, I guess, is like we did a workout the other day and like I had a headache through like 30 minutes after until it like finally went away. And just because like I think it just pushed it to the point where like it caused a headache. It doesn't happen that much, but sometimes it can be just exhausting, some of the workouts that we do. Most of the time, you feel better afterwards. I will say that. And that's probably another difference between like someone that's like very fit is like sometimes their workouts can be very physically draining, whereas the moderately fit people can like, they'll do their workout and they feel energized and they feel good after. Yeah, and they're not like dead on the floor for 5 minutes afterwards wondering what hit them.
Yeah, our goal is fitness. Their goal is like more health and just kind of feeling better. I totally agree with that. Like, I was kind of happy actually when I saw this post and it said that a con of being very fit is some days you might have low energy because our workouts literally like kick our butt some days, and I have low energy quite a bit. I rely on some stimulants. Big part of that though too is like waking up super early. I don't actually get as much sleep as my body requires, so I do take a nap every day. I try to get 30 minutes. Some days I can get an hour and a half, which just to catch up on sleep and recovery and kind of give my brain a little rest. That way I'm good for the rest of the afternoon. But a typical workout, we can lift 10, 15, 20,000 pounds of volume in a 2-hour workout. So if you just think about that, lifting up 20,000 pounds in a day, 5 days a week, it's extremely taxing on a body. It doesn't matter how strong you are or how fit you are, a human body is a human body, and that much volume is extremely, tiring and exhausting. And we require at least 2 hours more sleep and recovery than the average person because of it. And that's another risk that we take. That's another con. You need more sleep and recovery and more downtime just because you're putting your body through so much. But we know that the trade-off is what we want. We want to be fit, we want to be healthy. Plus, we just love, like, we're talking about CrossFit workouts, so I just love the sport. I know that I'm not going to do this level forever, but for right now, I'm going to be at the level that I want to be because I'm doing all the things that I need to do. But maybe 10 years from now or 5 years from now, I'll tone that back and just do CrossFit at a lower level and enjoy life with it. Who knows? Doesn't have to be forever. That's what a lot of people I don't think understand is you don't have to be 100% dialed in with their nutrition and their diet plans for the rest of your life. You can just get started with some kind of challenge or something, and then as long as you adopt those habits, and like Bethany mentioned with the moderately fit, if you're 70% of the time you're on track, you're going to be healthy and fit for the rest of your life. So you don't have to be very fit or extremely fit forever. You can kind of bounce between the levels. What we want to try to do is keep people from getting in that unfit level. And if you are unfit right now and you can continue living the lifestyle you're living, you're going to continue getting worse. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but it's called decrepitude. I like to think of it like a flower or something like that. A flower needs sunlight and soil and water, and it continues to grow forever, or a tree. If it doesn't have those things, it's basically going to shrivel up and die eventually. And that's the same thing with us. Every day that we live unhealthy, we're basically slowly decaying or having this decrepitude until the moment that we develop disease or die. We're constantly losing muscle, bone mass, things like that, where energy is going down and down and down until the moment that we can no longer do the things that we want to do. So now we'll move on to the extremely fit, which none of us are extremely fit.
Nope.
I wouldn't say.
Which most people might see us and think that we are, but they might because they're like, oh, you do all this stuff, and they're like, oh, you got to be like that. extremely fit people, and I'm like, no, there's many other levels above what we are, and it's crazy to look at them and like see what they do in their day, and it's completely centered around training, eating, sleeping. That's all. Like,
and I would say even more, like the recovery and
Yeah.
nutrition is like almost more important than even their training. And yeah, it's just those three things. They have no social life,
Yeah.
hardly anything.
It's like, it's professional athletes, it's professional bodybuilders, where like they have an off season where they can like do the fun things, but like most of them haven't had a drink in like a year, or at least like 10 months. And even if they did have a drink, it's like maybe 1 or 2. And then, they're very strict on their plan. Like they hit what they have to eat every day, because if they don't eat enough, then that's an issue. So a lot of them just struggle with eating enough when it comes to like a CrossFit athlete or someone, another professional athlete, like a professional basketball, football player. Like their life is centered around that goal because they're that obsessed with completing it. Like when you're in that very fit level, like you kind of get that level of like I don't know, from the other day, like I thought doing 100 burpees was fun, which I thought sounded really crazy. And then like other people like in that extreme level, like they love the pain and the suffering of workouts, and they will just do workout after workout after workout that would like drive them into the ground. And I'm like, I don't know how they can do that without, like, I don't know, it just seems like my body would break down after a day of it. And I mean, obviously their body's just gotten used to it because they're at that level. And they dedicate, I mean, they get massages pretty much every week. They probably see a chiropractor every week. They get so much body work done in order to recover, and then they sleep for probably 10 hours a day. So it's very centered around exactly what they're doing, and they do it at the professional level because of that.
And most of these people literally live to do this. So they're, like she said, like professional athletes, like they literally don't have jobs other than doing that specific thing, fitness or sport or whatever. So obviously it's very hard to do, but what I don't think people realize is it's, when you see those people on magazines and stuff, like that's marketing. It's not an obtainable goal unless you quit your job and decided to dedicate your whole life to it. So just trying to be a little bit more realistic with it is important.
I definitely think those people are also deal with more injuries.
Yes.
Because they are literally just putting their body through hell every single day. That would definitely make it hard to like have friends, have a family, like all those things that might be important. They probably are important to those people. They care more about competing and stuff like that. But yeah, that's definitely for a very specific type of person and not for just anybody. That's very lower percentage of people in the world.
Yeah, and I think an interesting thing to point out is like they're not always as like aesthetic as they could be. When it comes to certain sports, like an NFL lineman doesn't care what his body fat percentage is. Like they're just to get as big as possible and to move mass. And that's like the biggest thing for them. And then even though they're like that extreme athlete and their life is centered around that, they're not, they wouldn't be considered as like one of those like aesthetically fit, like, looking super fit. And even like some of the CrossFit Games athletes, like they talked about this, some guys that come to your gym look more fit than they do, but they're some of the fittest people on earth. And then another thing, like the extreme fitness is not really healthier. It's actually, they probably actually have a lot of health decrepitude because of what they're doing to their body. Like they're not going to expect to live super long times because they're taking.
If they did that forever.
Yeah, if they did that forever, or even if it is for 10 years. I mean, it does take a toll on your body. I mean, getting your heart rate at that level for so much, and then lifting that amount of weight, and then putting your body just through the stress of that. I think, obviously they're not able to do it for their whole life. That's why professional athletes, they have their career, and then after that they ride into the sunset. But people will see physique athletes, people who are competing in like a bodybuilding show, and they're just like ripped to shreds, but they don't realize that person is like dead to the world. Like they talk about it as like prep brain, where they literally can't even think of words that they're supposed to say, and like they barely can talk because like they're on such low calories and their energy is so low that they like can't function. And I just think it's insane because, you know, people might aspire to look like that, but they don't understand that sacrifice that that person is making and like how uncomfortable it is for them.
Yeah. And, the only thing, like, I did a body scan a couple months ago, and I was actually like nervous because my body fat percentage was so low, which I didn't purposely do that. I guess you can consider it like the extremely fit level, like almost, you know, walk onto a show ready. And so I had purposely started eating more junk and kind of more calories to try to put on a little bit of body fat, because it actually wasn't healthy to be in that percentage body fat for an extended period of time. So there's actually levels where, you know, you don't want to be there forever. You want to be healthy and feel good and have energy. So if you get to a point where you have low energy and you're too low, you know, you need to think about, okay, why are you doing this, and where do you want to go with it, things like that. Like if you wanted to be a competitor, do that for an extended period of time, but they don't do it forever. They're, you know, if they're competing for a show, right afterward you see them smashing pizza and donuts and stuff like that because they haven't had a carb in like 2 months or something like that. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that's just very specific to a sport that you're doing. So that kind of wraps up all the different levels. Is there anything else you guys want to add for that? Yeah. So just to kind of recap, like we want most people to probably be in that moderately fit range, maybe very fit if they, you know, we have quite a few people that are getting into the sport of CrossFit, for example, or maybe powerlifting, and they kind of identify themselves as one of those type of athletes, and they kind of start to build their life around it. You know, they take a lot more time to meal prep, and they take more time to, maybe they set a bedtime and a wake time, things like that. But we want to see people basically avoid that decrepitude that I talked about. So basically there's a line that goes from unhealthy or unfit to just healthy, and then you have fit. And wherever you fall on that line, you know, we want people between healthy and fit, because as you age, you're naturally going to slowly kind of have this decrepitude. Even though I work out every day or 6 days a week, whatever, and I eat a lot of protein and enough calories and a resistance training, once I turn 40 or 50, I'm going to have a decrease in muscle mass, a decrease in bone mass, and decrease in testosterone, things like that. There's just no avoiding it, pretty much. But what you want to do is, at the youngest age you can, like Caitlin mentioned in the very, very beginning, is a lot of these people that are in our 20s and 30s, they don't care if they work out because they're not technically unhealthy or they're not overweight yet. Even though they're living that kind of lifestyle, they're going to slowly move toward that unhealthy spot on that line or on that graph. So our goal is to get people high up on that graph, as close to the fit level as you can. That way, as you age, you're still going to live a nice, healthy lifestyle for a very long duration of time. The unfortunate thing is, if you go to the doctor and they take your blood pressure, your resting heart rate, and all this stuff, maybe your body weight, and they say, hey, you're doing great, you're a healthy individual, that doesn't mean that you're not prone to being unhealthy. That means you're right in the middle. You know, you got your blood pressure 120 over 80, that's great. Maybe you're in the normal range of body weight, but you're still living an unhealthy lifestyle. You're not eating good. Maybe you don't exercise. Every single day that you don't make those changes, you're creeping down toward the unhealthy level. So that's one thing that I don't like that doctors don't tell you is, you know, they may say, hey, everything looks great, you know, you're a healthy individual, and then they go about living their life. They don't make any changes. Well, it's only going to be a matter of years before you're going to have to do something about it. So our suggestion is start while you have your health. If you are somebody that doesn't have any health risks right now, if you are somebody with health risks right now, start adapting or adopting some healthy habits and start making some small changes. Like we said, it doesn't have to be much. A moderately fit person, maybe 70% of the time, you know, you work out 3 to 5 days a week, 70% of your calories are coming from healthy foods, you still enjoy yourself on the weekends, you're just being way more conscious of it. So, yeah. Cool. Like we said in the beginning, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe so you can see all of our future videos. We do one of these these every single week. We don't plan on stopping. This is number 60, so we've been doing it over a year now. If you need any help with anything nutrition, fitness related, feel free to reach out, and you can leave a comment or message us. I'll include the link to our website. You can set up a free intro where we'll actually meet with you for 15 or 20 minutes to figure out what your goals are and get you started on the plan that's going to work for you. So until then, stay healthy, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.